Hi class, Dr. Colson. We are going to talk about chapter 12 today, which is procedural safeguards. So what are procedural safeguards? It's a notice. So in general, a copy of the procedural safeguards are available to parents of a child with a disability shall be given to the parents just one time a year, except that the copy shall also be given to the parents upon initial referral or parental request for evaluation. So that's the first time they receive them. And then upon the first occurrence of filing a complaint under subsection B6, and upon request by a parent. So an LEA, which is the local education agency, may place a current copy of procedural safeguards notice on its internet website if the website exists, that is legal. So what's in procedural safeguards? The procedural safeguards notice shall include a full explanation of the procedural safeguards written in the native language of the parents unless it is clearly not feasible to do so, and written in an easily understandable manner, available under this section and under regulations promoted by the Secretary relating to an independent education evaluation, which we call an IEE, prior written notice, parental consent, access to educational records, the opportunity to present and resolve complaints, including the time period in which to make a complaint, the opportunity for the agency to resolve the complaint, and the availability of mediation. It's also the child's placement during pendency of due process proceedings, procedures for students who are subject to placement in an interim alternative education setting, requirements for unilateral placement by parents of children in private schools at public expense, also the due process hearing, including requirements for disclosure of evaluation results and recommendations. There's also the state level appeals, and then civil actions, including the time period in which to file such action and attorney fees. What this simply means is a copy of the procedural safeguards notice must be provided to you one time a year and the first time your child is tested or you make a request. Whenever you want a copy, whenever you file a due process, the first time the school year when the school receives a copy of the state complaint that you submitted, and when a decision is made to suspend or remove your child for discipline reasons that would change your child's placement, or when it would change a student's placement. So this is when you would need to send these home to parents. There's also another thing that I wanted to share with you about. A lot of times you'll see when parents have asked for an IEE and things like that, you'll have to help parents by providing this procedural safeguard with them as well. But also just know this, that procedural safeguards are part of IDEA, and it is a requirement. But procedural safeguards includes the rights to participate in all meetings, to examine all educational records, and to obtain an independent educational evaluation, like I said, what we call an IE of the child. Parents have the right to written notice when the school proposes to change or refuses to change the identification, evaluation, or placement of a child. So if we'll be giving the example, so sometimes a child has been placed in the general education classroom, and you decide that they're not doing well in that placement, and they need to be moved into maybe a special education class. You have to hold an IEP meeting to redo the IEP, but you'll need to include a prior written notice on there of why that you are requesting, or why did you request, or why did you change that placement. It can't be just because you wanted to. There has to be other reasons behind that. But also know that When Congress reauthorized IDEA in 97, they added a new requirement about parent notice and reimbursement for private placement. A lot of times it's procedural safeguards in the has a lot to do with when parents remove children from the placement and then place them in a private school without notifying the school, and then are asking for payment for that. So if a parent decides to place their child unilaterally in a private school and want the school to reimburse them for the private placement, they must take specific steps to protect their rights. So the parents must advise the IEP team that they are rejecting the proposed IEP and state their concerns and their intent to enroll their child in a private school at public expense. Or 10 business days before removing the child from the public school, the parent must give the school written notice of their intent to enroll the child in a private school at public expense. If parents do not take these steps, they may lose their right for reimbursement, even if the school did have an inappropriate placement or denied the child FAPE. Rights Law, you can find a lot more information about this. I've also included in here a couple of videos that talk about what is an IEE or how to ask for an IEE, or that you may hear parents discussing that with you. And then exactly what is due process, and parents requesting due process. And then we have your voice thread discussion and your quiz. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.